I was someone who did really well in school, specifically in like English and writing classes, and I think I was so like bamboozled and frustrated that writing was not as easy to me as like getting a good grade on an English essay. And it's like, it's hard, and it's normal for it to be hard, and it's normal to not like the first draft, and the more you keep doing it, the better you'll get, and then the more you'll like it. And like, you just have to like get past being bad with it.
Hello folks, and welcome to Author Adjacent, a show about the journey from hobbyist writer to professional author. I am your host, Michael Vadney, author of Crownfall, a noble dark fantasy adventure. But today, we're here to talk about somebody else. We have in the house, K.R. House, author of the Unmarked series. Welcome to the show. And yes,
hello.
No, hold it up a little bit longer.
Okay.
It's a very beautiful cover. I've seen it around the internet a lot.
There's book 2 coming soon. That's what it looks like.
That's very exciting.
Very
This interview is going to be coming out this week, which will be, I think, about 2 weeks before, 3 weeks. When does the book 2 come out?
The book 2 comes out August 18th. So if this comes out...
So about 3 weeks.
About 3 weeks, yes.
Yeah.
Wait,
we'll figure
something
out
like that.
math. Yeah, we're bad at
People
math.
can do math on their own.
We're artists, so they can figure it out.
That's all right.
But thank you so much for coming onto the show. I've been meaning to reach out and ask you to be on here for a while. I've seen you all over the internet giving these lovely, like, bite-sized lessons all over the place. Thank you so much for coming onto the show.
Thank you so much for reaching out to me. I listened to your podcast, so when you messaged me, I was like, yes.
Oh my God,
amazing.
I didn't know that. That's very exciting for me. Thank you.
Yeah.
In that case, let's get right into it. I'm actually going to start with what is my favorite question, which is, at what moment did you feel like you were an author?
Ooh, I think sometimes I still don't feel like an author because I make more money from the social media stuff than I do from the actual book, which, you know, pros and cons. But I try to remind myself, no, like, I am an author. I do think hitting publish was like a surreal, crazy experience. And then, like, I know you published your book this year too. So it's like, as you see like orders come in, you know, there's like a huge spike when you first publish it, and then it kind of, but I was like, oh wow, like, that's awesome, there they are. And getting reviews also, and specifically getting positive reviews. Like, everyone talks about getting bad reviews, and like, that's scary and not fun, but it is also awesome to get positive reviews. You're like, whoa, you actually liked it, and I didn't pay you to say this. That's amazing.
Yeah. That is a nice feeling when you start getting positive reviews back, and you're just like, one, people are out there in the world, they are touching the thing that I made, this dream that came true. But two, getting that positive feedback is just so validating. And I love that readers find things in your book that you didn't think about putting in there, but you just pour yourself into it, and what happens, happens. I love those little insights that readers will make. Is there any particular insight that, like, a reviewer had made for your book that really caught you off guard?
An insight a reviewer had that caught me off guard. Nothing comes to mind immediately. I think I had a lot of those moments when I was getting feedback from my writers group. So I have a group of friends that we meet up and we review stuff, and like getting feedback from friends and family where, like, I had a scene that I wasn't sure if I was like, oh, this is embarrassing, like, I'm trying to be funny, but it's just coming off as cringy. And everyone I showed the scene to universally was like, this was great, this was hilarious, we loved it. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, it actually is, like it helped me get over my fear of, like, trying to be funny. Because, you know, if you try to be funny and then you fall flat, it's, like, really, it can be really embarrassing. But, yeah.
Humor is really hard to do in books. And, like, when
It's
people
so
nail it, it looks so effortless. But then when it doesn't land, you're just like, oof, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
And it's, like, I feel like it's almost impossible, at least for me, to, like, be the judge of whether the humor is landing or not. Because it's so, like, I understand the joke. It's not like humor's like surprises you. Like, you're not expecting it. Well, I know it's coming, so it's hard to know if it's funny or not.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. So let's go back to the beginning then. We asked my favorite question. What sparked your passion for writing? What started you on this journey to get to where you are today?
I think it's kind of something that I've always wanted to do. Like, I started reading at a really young age and, like, reading, like, voraciously. I loved books. I always tell people, like, there's two stories I always tell people as examples of how much I love books. One is when I first read the Percy Jackson book, I finished it, and I found it so mind-blowing and amazing that I started it over and started reading it immediately after finishing it. Like, back to back, I restarted it because I loved it so much. Yeah, I was like, this is awesome. And then my mom read The Hobbit out loud to me and my 3 younger brothers over however so many weeks it takes to read The Hobbit out loud. And it was such a core memory, you know? Yeah. So yeah, I think both of those things was like, okay, that plants the seed of like, I have to find a way, I have to figure out how these people did this and like do it myself.
Yeah, the Hobbit was definitely very formative reading for me as well. It was like one of the first things that I ever read that was fantasy, and I was like, I'm never going back. This is what it is. This is now me for the rest of my life.
It's like, this is my whole identity now.
Yes. You got to be careful of things like that. They'll sneak up on you and just take on over.
Yeah.
So how did you then, you grew up being a big reader, you got introduced into fantasy very early with some pretty strong starts then. How did you approach developing the Unmarked series then? How did the concept and the ideas first form?
So it's kind of a weird, this series particularly starts different than some of the other ideas that I have, because like I said, I loved books at a young age. I decided I wanted to write something when I was like 12 or something, and I tried, and I hated everything I wrote for years and years and years. And when I was in college, I was actually working on a sci-fi story with like parallel dimensions and all these things, and I was getting stuck in my head about how I don't know anything about science, and I was like, this is all made up. So I was like, okay, let me start something else. Let me do something to get over my fear of perfectionism and get over the imposter syndrome and just finish a book. And I was like, so I'll do fantasy, which is like my safe place. It'll be elemental magic because that's easy. But also at the same time, I was listening to a lot of Brandon Sanderson, and I was like, oh, well, there needs to be a consequence. And then I had the idea of like, oh, what if that magic turns you into a monster unless you do something to stop it? And the whole series kind of spiraled out of that. Yeah. Does that make sense?
We got there. No, I love that. I put up like a social post earlier today where I was talking about your elemental magic system actually, and I really like it. It is very interesting because the book itself does give itself like Avatar: The Last Airbender vibes, but it's like none of the plot is like Avatar. Like the things you seem to be like influenced from it is like the magic system and a little bit of like the characters and humor. Like it really reminds me of like a very nostalgic way of like looking back at growing up and watching that cartoon. But at the same time, I actually just thought of this now while you're talking about it. It also kind of reminds me of the Lightbringer series by
Okay, I haven't read
Weeks.
that.
Oh, it's so good.
I've heard people talk about it. I feel like I would like it.
It's really good. It is some of the best characterization I have ever read. But the thing that reminds me about it from your books, actually, is that concept of the more you use your magic, the more you become a monster or deformed. And it's just this, it changes all of society when that becomes a rule. Just that one quick thing. And I like the world building so far that you've done, where it's just like these are very unique places that are very well thought out for the consequences of the magic that you have implemented in this story. So that's just me riffing and just telling you how awesome you are.
I appreciate it. And I The Last Airbender is like also something I really love. Like it definitely did influence. I think it has like one of the best magic systems ever because it like makes so much sense. And it's so good.
It's so balanced.
It's so balanced, it's so simple, and then they take it so far. And I also like the Legend of Korra, where they're like, okay, now let's see what it looks like however so many years in the future. And so with my magic system, I was like, I want the way the society uses the magic to make sense the way magic makes sense in The Last Airbender.
I love that. We have a new, little off topic for a second, but we do have a new Avatar movie coming out this Saturday. If you didn't see the leaked version, I'm very excited. I haven't
seen the leaked version. I also haven't watched the trailer because I kind of just want to go in blind.
Yes. I was just talking about this with someone the other day where it's like, if you know you want to watch something, don't watch the trailer. It'll spoil it.
Yeah, just go in. And though sometimes I think I sometimes just love watching trailers. Like if I really love a trailer, I'll watch it multiple times, like over and over again. But yeah, Like, for this one, maybe after I watch the movie, I'll go back and watch the trailer.
Yeah,
I don't want spoilers.
Exactly. I'll consume everything there is to consume about this movie once I've seen the movie, but I really just want to go in blind.
Yeah,
that's all
I'm
saying.
super excited for it.
Me too. Yeah, I got plans Saturday. That's all I'm saying. But getting back to you and your book, the Unmarked series, I do have a question about your characters because we were talking earlier about like Mark is my favorite character. He seems to be a fan favorite. I am just I'm a sucker for a good man in an unfair world because he's just trying his best to be a good person, and I love that despite the things that are happening to him so far. I really can like sink my teeth into that. But how did you create these compelling and authentic characters that really resonate with readers like Mark?
Well, so to answer that, I'm going to go back to like working on it again. So like my first draft, the first person who read it, this isn't a first draft. It's like a second or third draft. But whatever. The earliest draft I let people read, only one person read it, is my husband, and he was like, your main character, Elias, is not good. He's like, he's so boring. And I was like, what do you mean he's boring? He's the main character. And I was like, oh no. And so I tried to push Elias's traits. So some of the feedback I get from people is that Elias is a little bit annoying, which is true and somewhat intentional. That is also how other characters view Elias. He is like flighty, he's naive, he's self-centered, he's all these things. He's also more free-thinking. He's likes people a lot and wants them to like him. And then Mark kind of came up as like a way to make Elias more extreme. So like Mark is the opposite of Elias. Like they're meant to be foils for each other, right? So Elias is and even Elias thinks this, I think, in the first chapter of the book. He's flighty, Mark is steadfast. Elias is like, easily influenced, Mark is super stubborn. Like they have these opposing character traits. And then once I added Mark to the plot, like everything kind of clicked into place. Like it changed Elias's arc. It made the world make a lot more sense because a lot of the stuff in like about the Grove is like specifically created like for Mark and his arc. So like everything really kind of fit. And I think one thing I tell people with characters is like, I think sometimes as writers we're afraid to make characters stereotypes or like too extreme, and it's like, no, push the good traits, push the bad traits, because people, make them more different from each other. I think that really helped me.
No, I love that. And I think I'm going to like Elias eventually, because you're right. At the beginning of the story, it really does seem like you're not supposed to like him. He has likable qualities. He is funny. Like I was sending you a message earlier. He said a line that literally made me laugh out loud. And I love his quips and observations. But he is a little unlikable at first because of who he is. He's not as steadfast as Mark. He's not as brave as Mark. So it's hard to admire him. But like I said, I'm only 18 chapters in, but I can see where this could go. And I'm very excited. I think I will like Elias eventually. That is my suspicions.
I think you will too. If not by the end of book 1, I think you'll definitely like him in book 2. I will say that.
From people who have read art copies of book 2, I've been hearing that book 2 is even better than book 1, and book 1 is doing fantastic for me right now.
Oh, thank you.
Of course. So going back to like your writing journey, and we talked a little bit about the moment you felt like an author. Take me back to that moment where you decided, you know what, I'm going to make that leap. I'm going to actually write a book and publish it. What was really that shift in your mind that made that happen?
So that's one of those things where I think is something that makes me a little bit different from other authors sometimes, is that was something that I always knew I wanted to do, and I also pretty much always knew I wanted to self-publish. Like,
nice.
Which is not it's not a thing that, like, I feel like now it's mainstream, but when I was younger, it was very much not mainstream. When both of us were younger, it wasn't the norm. But I spend a lot of time online. I've always spent a lot of time online, and I always saw all these people talking about self-publishing, you can do it yourself, all these things. And my mom actually has published like children's books herself, and so I had seen
that's
that
nice.
As like an example. Yeah.
So you like grew up with it in your household. I love that.
Yes, I did. Yeah, she's got a very entrepreneurial mindset.
I love that.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. Let me think. What was the question? Okay, yes. And so I always knew I wanted to do that. But I was, I went through college. I was in my first big girl job, whatever, doing this stuff. And I had a really awful day where I just I left work early. I just went home and cried. It was I never cry. It was a really terrible day at work. And I was walking around and I was like, why am I investing so much of myself into this when this is not the thing? This has never been the plan. The plan was always to do this. Why am I pursuing this other thing so hard when I can do what I want? And I think I can actually achieve it, make a living as a writer. And I don't have kids. I'm married and my husband has a really good job, so I was okay, I have this advantage of where, we can live off of one income. Let me pursue that with everything I have. And so then I quit that job. I had a brief moment where I thought I went back to school very briefly and then decided not to do that. I'm a woman of many ideas and attempts. And then I was okay. And so I published the book a year after that. So.
Oh, wow. So you're a full-time author right now.
Kind of. I wouldn't say I'm not making the full-time income that I left, and I still spend a lot of time doing freelance stuff. And then I get social media rewards. So I'm a full-time creator, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think that's really cool though. You're not where you want to be, but you're taking the steps toward it. And really, that's where happiness is. Happiness isn't really getting to the goal. It's actively in a way that you feel like you're in control, taking steps towards it. And I love seeing other people pursue their dreams. So keep at it. You're doing amazing. I've seen so much of your social media and stuff like that. And just your meteoric rise has been really fascinating to watch.
Yeah, it's kind of been... It's not been accidental. I've set out the intention of doing social media. I was very strategic about it. I do all these scripts and I've got lighting and all this stuff. Yeah. But I'm still wow, I didn't expect this to work so well. So I'm a little bit surprised. When I hit 50K, I told one of my friends that I was I'm both delighted and a little bit scared. What are you all doing here?
It's great content and a lot of people like it, and it's very useful, going the lesson route and stuff like that. How do you come up with all these ideas for 7 different ways to make your magic system more interesting, or how to make time travel work and stuff like that? How do you come up with all these ideas?
I think maybe it's both a blessing and a curse that I am very much an idea person. So I will never run out of ideas as long as I live. It's actually one of the things that I had to do to finish my book, finish The Call of Wind, is I had to stop pursuing other things. I always had so many different projects going on at once. So I have lots of ideas for stuff. The more I've made videos, the more it's been harder to find ideas, but I do think people ask more questions in the comments of one video. I made a video about I made some video about some superpower. It was about teleportation, and then I got comments that were do strength, do super strength, do invincibility, whatever, And so I'm okay, I'll do a video about that. Yeah. So it's kind of a flywheel if you want to be a businessy person.
No, that's nice though, because you have the audience that you have built has now helped you generate more to keep the whole thing going.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I have one more social media question to ask you, because I'm just very curious, because this is a big aspect for authors that a lot of people really struggle with, that you just seem to be crushing. Did you focus yourself on a single platform, or did you go wide with TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, and stuff like that?
So I started with just one platform. I started with TikTok because none of my friends in real life used TikTok. And I was this is a safe place. And I made, I didn't want anyone to see it. I was devastated when I made my Instagram account, and then I was no, but whatever. It's fine. Everyone's super nice. So I started on TikTok, and I did 3 videos every day at the times that people say you're supposed to do them. My videos were any length. I tried different trends. I tried reviews. I tried doing funny stuff. And then I made a whiteboard video where I talked about cool genre mix-ups, and that video did pretty good. And I was wow, okay. And then I made another whiteboard video talking about superpowers, and that was my first video to get 1 million views. And I was okay, people love the whiteboard videos. They love me talking about these kind of stuff. And so I really let the algorithm and the audience kind of teach me what kind of content to make. Because if you scroll back to the beginning of my TikTok, you'll see that my content is not as it's a lot more varied than it is now.
we were talking about Aaron N. Hall earlier. It's the same thing with his caveman cooking. It's like he was doing a lot of different things, and then he did that, and it just took off, and he's like, okay, I got to lean into this, put my books into these videos, and now he's doing phenomenally as well.
Yeah, he's crushing it. Yeah.
Yeah, he just recently, we had him on the show very recently talking about a panel, Writing as a Business, because he, in the last few months, has gone full-time thanks to part in his caveman cooking and stuff like that, with just how his social media has taken off, and he's been able to buoy his book sales through that. And it's always great to see someone succeed. Like I said earlier, I love seeing people accomplish their dreams and pursue their dreams. I just can't get over it. It's just so exciting.
Yeah, and you're doing it too. I see Crownfall in the back. I haven't read it yet, but it's it's on the infinitely long list.
No worries.
Of all the things.
TBRs are mountains that we will never conquer but love to climb.
So true. You just got to get your audiobook out.
I'm working on it.
It's so much easier. Yeah, because you're narrating yours, right?
I am. I'm a little nervous about it, but I'm trying my best. I actually just recorded earlier this week an excerpt that I'm giving to a fellow author. I don't know if I can say how much of this public, so I'll keep it on wraps. But I'm giving it to a fellow author who's giving it to his Patreon followers as like a little thing. And I'm just like, I'm very excited for that. But I'm learning so much while doing this, because not just even how to record, because like I have the equipment, I know how to do basic editing, but how to perform properly for a mic so you don't get all those mouth clicking noises, and try not to lose any of the height of the voice in the editing. It's a lot to learn. It's fun. I'm very excited to give it to people, but I'm also very nervous. We'll see how it goes.
It's just like writing the book, right?
Yes. Oh my God, it feels like that all over again. Yep. Yeah, it definitely feels like that all over again. But yeah, I'm going to keep people informed with it. I understand that audiobook is very important for people. Like, I'm listening to your audiobook right now, and it just becomes so much easier to listen to an audiobook when I'm walking the dog, doing chores, or just doing things around the house, as opposed to I have to stop everything that I'm doing and open up a book.
Yes, and so it's hard to find the time. It really is.
Yeah. We're just all way too busy. We need to stop doing so many things.
True.
How dare we? But getting back to your writing process, I know we keep getting off subject, but we're here to talk about it.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about your writing process and how it's really changed over time, especially going from a book 1 to a book 2.
I think book 2, I would say, has just been overall like an easier experience than book 1, partially because I'm not doing any of the upfront work. Like I was talking about in book 1, I was like, oh, Mark exists. Let me figure out who he is and add him into the story. And in book 2, I'm like, I know everyone. Like, they're all here. The gang is all here. They're all assembled. So I feel like it's been a lot easier that way. As far as like what my process looks like, I do start with an outline that definitely changes as I write. When I was younger in high school and like just starting to write, I didn't think I needed an outline. I was like, oh, I'm just going to let the story flow out of me. It'll just be all natural and beautiful and whatever. But I need an outline because I get stuck. And I can't work through being stuck. Like I have to stop and like talk to myself or like, free write or whatever.
I'm in the exact same way where it's like, I need the outline to guide me. It's okay for the outline to change. Like an outline is just the best ideas you have at the moment you created the outline. You might come up with something better later, but I'm like you where if I get stuck, I can't move forward until I fix this, because so much changes if I change things here.
Yeah.
It's just a huge web. You can't mess
Yeah,
with
I'm curious what book 3 will be like, because now I have to tie up everything. And I tend to just like I said, I like ideas. I like opening new questions, and now I'm like, oh, I have to wrap it all up. So I think book 3 will be harder. Yes, I have to have all the answers. I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like I had someone message me, and they're like, I'm so curious where this is going. And I was like, me too. So am I. I have like some vague ideas.
Yeah.
I have like the broad strokes.
Yeah.
But I don't know how they're getting there. I'm gonna I've like sat down and I have an outline for book 3, so I have some things figured out. But stuff is gonna change as I write it. I know, because that's how it always goes.
I love that, though, because I feel like you're bringing a pantser's energy to an outliner's process.
I think I kind of do. Yeah, because and my outlines will be really detailed. But sometimes, like, there's a part in the book one of in the Call of Wind where, Mark is standing there, and he sees a character. You've read this part. He sees another character, and he's like, is that guy? What's he doing here? And that guy was never supposed to show up again. He just appeared in the scene and ends up becoming a bigger character as the series goes on. He gets, his role gets, and I was like, oh, I guess you're here. Okay, we'll see what you do. And then the outline changes to, weave him in. Yeah, he's like, what's this guy doing here? And when I wrote that, I was like, what are you doing here? How'd this happen?
I'm very okay with this. I'm very curious to see how
okay, that's a slight spoiler for you because you know that part. But it doesn't really tell you a lot.
No, I'm fine with it. It seemed very clear that they were going, him and that group of people, if we're thinking of the same thing, are going to be around for a while based on how Mark reacted to them. And I'm just like, okay, cool. I'm for this. Let's see what happens.
Yes.
Let's see what goes.
Yeah, I'm so excited for you to keep reading. I'm like, yes.
It is very satisfying talking to someone who is reading your book, especially when they are enthusiastic. I recently did a local event at something called Book Buzz here in the Fort Worth area, and I had this woman come up to me at my booth with her son, and she eventually came back and bought the book for her son. And now I have received several messages from her, through social media, just saying hey, my son said this about your book, and my son said that about your book. And I'm just like, oh, you're killing me with kindness.
Yes.
Thank you.
It warms the heart. It's so good.
Yeah. And
yeah.
That's the positive things of social media. It's not all hopeless, people.
Yes, there's some good things.
Got to put that positivity out there.
Yes.
So we talked about Percy Jackson earlier, and we talked about The Hobbit earlier. What would you say are books or authors that have really influenced your writing, though?
I would say probably Brandon Sanderson. I know that's probably kind of cliche.
That.
He's so big. But
it's hard to get away.
It's hard to get away, and I watched so many of his YouTube videos, and I actually didn't read him until college when my husband and boyfriend was like, you gotta read Brandon Sanderson. I was like, all right. And I was like, oh, he's pretty good. So yeah, a lot of his writing advice stuff has been really helpful to me, and I like the way he does characters. And then an author who I'm like, I want to be like you is probably M.L. Wang. Or Wang, M.L. Wang, I think. But her Sword of Kaigen is the only one I've read from her, but I cried twice reading this book, and I'm telling you, I've never had a book make me cry. I love the way she did, the magic system was awesome, the world was awesome, it was action, but it was also a lot about, family, and the emotional relationships of the characters were so deep. I was like, I would love to one day, write something where people read it and are like, wow, this reminds me of Emma Wang. I'd be like, yes.
I'm silently trying to keep my excitement down because you literally picked the two people that I pick for the exact same thing, where it's I did the BYU classes online for Brandon Sanderson and stuff like that. He's a big influence on me as well, but I want to write like ML Wang.
She's so good.
Oh my God.
I love her so much. Okay, I've really got to read Crownfall. It sounds like we're shooting for the same stars here.
Yeah, we're on the same wavelength here. If you like Sword of Kaigen, which I adore, I've read it twice, I'll probably read it again. You need to try Blood Over Brighthaven by her as well. I was sobbing at the end of that book, and it's the only book to ever make me cry, and I was just like, oh my God, this is so beautiful and sad.
Okay, I've got the audiobook for that, but I might buy the physical. I think I'd rather read it with my eyes, just because it's, I already know, I'm pretty much guaranteed to like it, so.
Yeah, there's a line that has really stuck with me that's very early, and it's it has nothing to do with plot or anything, it's just describing a language as the serrated edge of a leaf. And I remember listening to that line through audio, and I stopped the book, and I just had to sit there and think and just be like, wow. That was amazing. It was just such a little throwaway description, and it just so perfectly encapsulated what that language sounded to this person who doesn't speak that language. And I was just like, holy shit. Like, oh, I could talk about ML Wang all day.
I feel like that's the danger of like a really good audiobook, because it's like, oh, I can listen to this while I do other stuff, but if the audiobook's really good, then you stop doing the other stuff and you're just like, whoa.
Yeah, you're just sitting there with your hands in the sink and the dishes are just soaking.
Yes. My husband is like an audio exclusive reader, and he reads so much, and so often I'll be like, isn't it like time for bed? And he's just standing there and he's like, oh yeah, and I'm like, yeah, I see.
Yeah. My wife has long hair too, and she listens to a lot of like audiobooks and podcasts and stuff like that. And I won't see her little headphones in because her hair will be covering it.
Yeah,
and she'll just be standing there or doing something, and I'll just be talking to her, and then I'll realize she hasn't heard a word that I've said. And then I realize she's listening to something. It happens all the time.
Yeah, so the perils of audiobooks. It's worth it, I guess.
How dare they?
I know.
Okay, so oh my God, I'm still reeling that you picked ML Wang and Brandon Sanderson as well. But like looking ahead though, what are you most excited for in the future for your writing career? Like, are there any particular projects that you're looking forward to?
I'm just really excited to do a new project in a new world. Like, I know some people, like, they pick a world and that's kind of their world that they like live in for their author career. Like I said, I've got a lot of ideas. Once the trilogy is done, I have an idea for a prequel, and that's probably it for the world of Unmarked for the foreseeable, unless someone's like, we'll pay you $1 million to write another. I'd be like, sure. But bearing that, I have a project I want to do. I'm going to do a standalone because I'm like, I need to try a standalone because I've got some other ideas after that. Is Crownfall a standalone?
It is. I love standalones.
Okay, see, standalones, yeah.
Yeah, I love
And
series, but standalones is where it's at too.
They are. They're so good for people to like get used to you, to try you out as an author. Because I've been to conventions and people are like, "Is this a standalone?" And I'm like, "No." And some people are like, "Well, I'm not going to buy it just because I don't want to commit to a whole series," which I understand. But yeah, so I'm excited for that. It's going to be like I don't know anything about the plot or anything, but I think it's going to be like a survival science fantasy. It's going to be like in a really weird place. It's going to be. I love survival stories.
I'm saying like Dr. Stone kind of thing.
Yeah, but also more like kind of like climbing Mount Everest or like getting shipwrecked. Like we're in this dangerous environment and like how do we survive? Like I love that kind of stuff. So I don't see a lot of that in fantasy. So maybe that means there's no audience for it. But it'll be fun to try out as a standalone. And then I've got lots of projects I want to do after that. I just need to I feel like I need to write a bunch to like catch up and like have some stuff. I feel like I need to get ahead. I don't know if I actually need to, but I feel like that would be smart. Even though people don't talk about rapid release as much now as they used to, I still think it's good to have like
pretty consistent.
Yeah.
Especially early in your like author release, because like the Call of Wind, when did that come out exactly? That was like this year or last year?
It came out August 28th last year. Cost of Runes will be August 18th this year. Third book will probably be August of next year. I'd like it to be less than a year, but I have not been able to like.
That's hard.
Make that happen. Yeah, it's really hard. I see people do it. I'm like, I don't understand how you're doing this, but.
Yeah, it's definitely useful, especially early in your author career, to have consistent things coming out and everything. And I will say there are a lot of advantages to writing the standalone because, like you were saying, like they get to just try you out. They don't have to commit to a series before they get to know you. But they're also just nice palate cleansers. For like to write something shorter in between projects is very enjoyable. We can't really talk about it too much yet, but like there are anthologies and stuff going around, and I've been writing some short stories for those anthologies, and going from like a full novel that was like 120 something thousand words to I have to write a 7,000 word short story. Piece of cake. It feels so good to go from that to this.
There's such different things. I feel like I sometimes struggle with shorter stuff because I'm like, but what if... Because originally, The Call of Wind was supposed to be a standalone. And then I got to the end and I was like, but that can't be the end. That's a terrible ending. What's going... Because it ended basically the same way it ends now, which you'll read it and when you get to the end, you'll be like, that's a garbage ending for a standalone. So I was like, well, I have to keep going. Yeah, because it would be a really bad standalone ending. But yeah, I think I want to challenge myself to do that. And then I have some really more complex series I want to do after that, which I think standalone will also be good for like buying time for me to think about those.
Yeah, it's just so nice to have also just work on multiple projects at once. Have you experimented with that yet? Because you're still working on the Unmarked series. How's your experience been trying to write other things while still pushing this series along?
So I haven't really done that, except for like if it's with clients or like with other people, like if it's in an anthology or something. Because again, like with the first book, I was like, I'm gonna stop working on multiple things and I'm gonna do this one thing. And so I've been doing this one thing, and I'm kind of thinking I might like to try working on multiple things at once, probably just two. But I haven't really done that yet. I'm curious because like I'm afraid that if I start trying to plan my idea for after Unmarked, that I'll lose interest in Unmarked. But also maybe it will help me to give me something to work on when I'm stuck on Unmarked and I'm not going to be making any progress anyway. I don't know. Do you work on multiple things at once?
I didn't at first. When I was writing Crownfall, I only worked on Crownfall. It was like, this is the only thing, this is the goal. I just need to learn how to write a book and prove to myself that I can write a book. Because it is a marathon. Like it's an endurance race more than anything else. And I just needed to prove to myself that I could. But now that Crownfall is over, it's out into the world. I'm working on 2 short stories while outlining a new series that I'm working on. And just being able to bounce back and forth between those 2 short stories and the outline I have found is very useful for like pumping the creative process. Because I'll work on this outline, which I'm trying to get like a high level outline of a 5-book series going. And yeah. And it's
That's
like,
an intense outline.
well, I'm trying to do it at high level because it's fantasy with time travel, and anytime you have time travel, you need to know what's happening, otherwise you're going to write yourself into a corner. And I really like time travel stories, but I also know they're very easy to mess up. So I'll work on that outline for a while, and then when my brain gets fried from trying to keep 5 books of timeline together, I'll move to a short story, which has a lot less complexity to it, and I can focus more on practicing my efficiency of description and character arcs and stuff like that. And I'm still being creative, but I'm working different muscles to do it. So I still feel fresh when I come back to the outline, but I still feel productive the whole time. I didn't just sit on my couch and watch TV and veg or something like that, or play video games or whatever. And it feels productive while still feel like resting. I'm not sure if that makes sense.
That makes sense. I think I do need to try this. I think, yeah, because like I said, I used to get so like not make progress on anything, but I'm like, maybe if I just try to, it's worth experimenting with. And if it doesn't work,
I would
for me,
agree
I'll
with
go
that.
back to one.
Yeah, especially if like the second project, if the second project is just a short story can wait. Like if you try it and it doesn't work for you, that's fine. You'll work on the short story when you get time to it. But like doing 2 books at once, I haven't tried that yet. We'll see.
Yeah, short stories, lower stakes.
Yeah.
Or feels like lower stakes, yeah.
Less investment.
Yes, less investment. It's a good way to say it.
Yeah. So something I did want to talk about as well is creating your audiobook. Your audiobook for your first book it's officially out now, right? Like I'm listening to it right now. This is not an ARC. Okay. So what was the process for getting that out then? For like you wrote the book and you had it out and published. At what point did you go, okay, now I need to start looking for an audio?
Well, I know audiobook is because I have friends where like I only can read like one of my friends is a mom and she's like, I want to read your book, I tried but I can't, like I'm 3 pages in, like I need an audiobook. And then again, like I have a lot of family members who exclusively read audio. I've had people message me and be like, I have like vision issues and I can only read audio, and I'm like, I wish I had an audiobook to give you. And I thought about, I know sometimes people get deals for audiobooks, and I pursued that for like one Saturday. I got hype, and I sent Podium an email that they never responded to, which is very valid because this was also like right after the book came out. I was like, yeah, it was probably a little too early. Yeah. Yeah. But then it was actually Dave Lawson, who I know you know. He's a great guy. I saw him on someone else's podcast. It might have been with Aaron and Hall. It might have been somebody else. I don't remember. I saw him on somewhere, and he said that having an audiobook was the best thing he ever did to get more readers. And I was like, okay, I need to prioritize the audiobook. But I couldn't spend $6,000, $3,000, $2,000 to get an audiobook done because I'd spent that much and more on the editing and the cover. So my cover was really expensive. And I was trying to do the same for book 2. So I was like, I can't really afford a narrator. Dave told me about Audible royalty share. So that's what I did. So my narrator got a little bit up front, and then he and I split the profits 50-50, which I think is great. I hope, I'm like, yes. His name is Freddie Hines. He's awesome. I'm like, yeah, hopefully me and Freddie both get rich from this audiobook. Probably not, but he's really cool. I just put the book up for auditions, and he auditioned, and I liked it. And then I went to his reel on his website, and he's like a voice actor. Like he does, he's a character in My Hero Academia. He's like a really small role in the dub. Yeah, I was like, I gotta get this guy. He's like a doctor. He's like a very small character in like 1 or 2 episodes. And I cool. was like, it's so cool. So I was like, I gotta get this guy. He's in My Hero Academia. And I think because he's a voice actor, I think he brings a really unique style to the audiobook. Like, he does so many different voices, and it's just really good. So yeah, I really liked working with him. I'm working with him on book 2. So he's gonna start on that in August, which I'm really excited for. And it was just I recommend him to everybody. He also does not royalty share if authors are interested. He's very good, and he's so easy to work with. Like, he was great.
Yeah, he did a phenomenal job so far. Like I said, 18 chapters in, and there are some emotionally punchy parts in the beginning with the inciting incident and everything that is happening there. And he went full send on the audiobook. Like, he got into that. And I remember listening to it. I was walking my dog, and I was just like, man, he's really selling this emotional turmoil. Like, again, it's Mark for me. I freaking love him. Just like so that moment where he's just, his life is changing. It is now something completely different than what he had planned. And that moment was just so heart-wrenching. Yeah. And he did a phenomenal job delivering that. Like, it was really good. You made a good choice.
Yes, he's like, I will never stop. Just like with my cover artists, I'm like, these 2 guys, they're crushing it. I'll never stop singing their praises. Everybody hire them. They're so good.
Nice. We are nearing the end of our episode, but I did have one more question that I wanted to ask you, and it's a classic. What advice would you share to someone who is just fresh on their writing journey? They have learned the things, they've learned like grammar and everything like that, and they're just about, okay, I'm going to start my first book. What advice would you give them?
Well, I don't want to say just keep writing, because I feel like that's really cliche. One thing that I would tell specifically my younger self that maybe will help somebody else is that, like, it's going to be hard. I think I was someone who did really well in school, specifically in like English and writing classes, and I think I was so like bamboozled and frustrated that writing was not as easy to me as like getting a good grade on an English essay. And it's like, it's hard, and it's normal for it to be hard, and it's normal to not like the first draft, and the more you keep doing it, the better you'll get, and then the more you'll like it. And like, you just have to like get past being bad with it. Like, you know, everyone talks about like the crappy first draft, you know, revision is where the real writing happens, whatever. There's some quote about that, I don't remember. But like, it's hard at the beginning, and it's not good. Yeah. And that's normal for everybody. There's maybe a few people out there who just sit down and bam, one draft, it's perfect. But like, you know, for the rest of us mortals, we got to write bad first drafts.
No, I agree. You have to make it exist first, and then you can make it good, is like the classic thing that I hear a lot. No, I love that advice, though. But thank you for coming on the show. Could you tell the people, 1, where can they find you? And 2, where can they find your books?
Okay, you will find me most active on Instagram, but I'm also on TikTok and Facebook and technically YouTube, but I sometimes forget to upload there. All of them, I'm author KR House. And yeah, that's where you can find me. Like I said, I will pretty much only check Instagram comments and stuff. Every once in a while I get on TikTok and look at things. And then you can find my books they're in Kindle Unlimited. Well, just one, but they will be 2 on August 18th. Kindle Unlimited, Audible, And then you can buy signed copies directly from me at krhousebooks.com. And all this stuff is linked. If you go to my Instagram, you find me on Instagram, there's a link tree with everything you could need. So.
Excellent. And we're going to have all that linked below. So if you immediately forgot it because you're just so distracted by thinking about how awesome this book is, you can just scroll down and it'll be right there, folks. Thank you for coming on to the show today. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Of course. And folks, until next time, let's be author adjacent together. See you, folks. And we did the thing.
Woo!